What if Jimmy Carter did 10% better in 1976? Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today, we will be taking a look at the 1976 presidential election, an alternate history type video, another what if so and so did 10% better video. And as I said, this is of Jimmy Carter, who won the 1976 election against incumbent President Gerald Ford. If he did 10% better, which states would he win? Which states would Ford hang on to, but much closer margins? So we'll see today as we do this. Of course, recently, a couple days ago, just what if Clinton did 10% better in 1996. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And like I said, this one is if Jimmy Carter did 10% better in 1976. So getting into it, Ford had a few safe states here, like these Mountain West states, and Arizona was 16 points for him. He won Alaska, but that was pretty much only a safe state in Nebraska as well, where I think he was originally born, if I'm not mistaken, but his home state was considered Michigan, which he won by 5. But like I said, those were his few safe states, and getting into them, if Carter did 10% better in the state of Idaho, he would get 47% of the vote. That'd be around, let's see, that'd be just over 10, I believe. I think it'd be like 12. So it would still go for Ford, but it'd actually be in a likely margin because it would be under 15 according to these margins. So the state of Wyoming, he won by 19 points. Carter would get 49% of the vote, so Ford would still take on another likely margin, just like Idaho, around 10 points. Ford wins Utah by 28%. Carter would get 43% of the vote here, but still be safe, by only by 18 points for Gerald Ford there, if Carter did 10% better. The state of Arizona, which was another safe one for Ford, by 16 points. Carter would get 49% of the vote here. And it'd still be likely, though, for Ford, because I believe he'd win about like 8 or so, or 7, something like that. Yeah, I think it'd be around 7 points. So Ford would still take that, but in a likely margin. Uh, the state of Montana, he won by 7, but if Carter did 10% better, he'd get 55% of the vote. And I believe he'd win by a lean margin, it looks like, there in Montana. Let me do the math there. So yeah, Carter would get 55%. It'd be around 3 points or so. So a bit of a close one, but Carter takes it. State of Colorado, Ford won by 11. If Jimmy Carter got 52% of the vote, he'd just come up short. So Ford was still hanging on by a couple points there in Colorado, because Ford would still get 54%, Carter would get 52. So much closer there. State of New Mexico, Ford won by 2. Carter, however, would get 58% of the vote and win by a likely margin. So doing pretty well there in New Mexico. The state of Washington went by 4 for 3 points. Carter would get 56% of the vote here. And he'd win it by a likely margin there. So another likely state for Carter. And the state of Oregon, Ford barely won by 0.17%. Carter would get 57% of the vote, so it'd be around a 10-point margin, likely for Jimmy Carter. The state of California, Carter would get 57% of the vote, another likely state there in California for Jimmy Carter. So all likely states there on the West Coast. The state of Nevada went to Ford by 4 points. Carter would get 55% of the vote, and he won it by a likely margin, just on the likely margin, I believe, 5 points or so. And moving on here to the state of North Dakota, Ford won by 5. Carter would, however, get 55% of the vote. So he won it by around 4 points. So just a lean margin, I believe, if I'm doing the math right. Yeah. So moving on to South Dakota, Carter would get 58% of the vote. It'd be a likely margin there in South Dakota, so he actually outperforms his North Dakota margin. Pretty interesting there. State of Nebraska would still go for Ford, but only be around by 10 points, as Carter would get 48% of the vote. Be a likely margin there in Nebraska for the incumbent president. State of Kansas went for Ford by 7 points. Carter get 54% of the vote, so go by him by a couple points, interestingly, there. So lean margin there in the great state of Kansas. Oklahoma, Ford only won by a point. However, Carter get 58% of the vote, and that'd be a likely margin close to 10 points there in Oklahoma. Pretty impressive showing there for Carter. Carter actually did win Texas by 3. He won by 13 here, again, 61% of the vote. It'd still be a likely margin, but close to safe, close to 15 points. The state of Alaska went for Ford by 22 points. Carter would get 45% of the vote here, and only go to Ford by 12, so a likely margin there in Alaska for Gerald Ford. The state of Hawaii went by Carter by only 2 points. Pretty interesting there. However, he would improve on his margin, of course, get 60% of the vote, and he went by 12. Likely margin there for Jimmy Carter in Hawaii still. And the state of Minnesota, which was Walter Mondale's home state, Carter won by 12. He won about 22 points here, so it'd be Carter's first safe state on this map. Getting a decisive victory there in Walter Mondale's home state of Minnesota. The state of Iowa went by 4 by only a point. Carter would get 58% of the vote. Almost 10-point win for Carter there in Iowa, likely for him. State of Missouri went to Carter by 3 points. It went about 13 here against Gerald Ford, likely. State of Arkansas was safe for Carter. He won about 30 points. It would be 40 points here against Gerald Ford, one of his best performing states in the election. State of Louisiana went to him by 5 points. It would go 15 here, so it would be on the safe margin for Jimmy Carter. State of Mississippi went by 1 point. It would be 11 points here, likely for Jimmy Carter. State of Alabama, Carter won by 13. He won by 23 points. Another safe state for Carter, and not surprisingly doing well in the South like it did in real life. His home state of Georgia won by 33 points. So that was his best performing state next to Arkansas, of course. And he won about 43, whopping 43 points here for Carter. Man, definitely a blowout in Georgia. State of Florida won by 5 points and won about 15.3 here. Another safe state, technically, in this scenario. State of Kentucky, Carter won by 7. He won about 17 here. Another safe state. So obviously doing well in these Appalachian deep South states, not surprisingly, where he's expected to. The state of Tennessee won by 13. That would be 23 points for Carter, another safe state. So just dominating these southern and Appalachian states, border states. State of South Carolina went by 13 points, another 23-point margin, just like Tennessee. And the state of North Carolina went to Carter by 11. That would be 21 points here, so another safe margin. The state of Virginia went to Ford by 1. Carter would get 57% of the vote, so close to 10 points. Likely for Jimmy Carter, so he's inching closer to 270 already. The state of West Virginia went to Carter by 16 points, so you get about 26 here, safe for Carter, and he's over the top. But moving on to the rest of these, state of Ohio, Carter only won by .23, the closest state of the election. However, it wouldn't be so close here as Carter would get 58% of the vote. 10-point victory over Ford, likely margin. State of Indiana, Ford won by 7. Carter would get 55% of the vote, so about a 2-point win there. Lean for Jimmy Carter. State of Illinois, Ford won by 2. Carter would get 58% of the vote, likely margin for Jimmy Carter in Illinois. State of Wisconsin went to Carter by 1. He would get 59% of the vote, and he won about 11 points, likely for Carter. State of Michigan, Ford won by 5. Ford's home state, in fact. But Carter would actually beat Ford in his home state, getting 56% of the vote here. And be around a 5-point margin, I believe, likely for Carter. But let's just do the math real quick to make sure. So yeah, around a 5-point margin or so, be around the margin that Ford won by, ironically. But likely for Carter. The state of Pennsylvania, Carter won by 2. He'd get 60% of the vote here, and he won by 12, likely for Carter. The state of New York, Carter won by 4. And he won about 14 here, close to a safe margin, but likely for Carter. Vermont, Ford won by 12. Carter would get 52% of the vote, but would come up short. And Ford would hang on by a lean margin, making it much closer. The state of New Hampshire, Ford won by 11. Carter would get 53% of the vote, and it'd be like a narrow 1-point margin there. So pretty interesting there. I'm not sure if that's tilt or lean, though. I'd have to find out. Let me see the margins. Lean is still 1, so technically it would still be a lean state for Gerald Ford, but much closer, as I said. They went above, like I said, Carter would get 53% of the vote, but coming up just short there in New Hampshire. Maine at large, Ford only won by .84. Carter would get 58% of the vote, winning about 10 points. Likely for Carter. Maine's first district, Ford won by 1. Carter would get 57% of the vote, another likely margin for Carter. And Maine's second was also close, .27. Carter got 58% of the vote, another likely there. So all of Maine is likely for Jimmy Carter. The state of Massachusetts, Carter won by a safe margin, 15 points. It would bump up to 25 points here, safe for Carter still. Rhode Island won by 11. Carter would get about 21 here. State of Connecticut, Ford actually won by 5, but Carter would get 56% of the vote, so it'd be 15 points, right on the safe margin for Carter in Connecticut. State of New Jersey, Ford won by 2, but Carter got 57% of the vote, likely there in New Jersey for Carter. State of Delaware, he won by 5, it'd be 15 points, another safe one. State of Maryland, 6 points. Carter won about, but it would be 16 here, another safe one. And of course, DC would be safe as Carter won about 65 points. And it would bump up to 75 points here. And there's the map. Carter wins a blowout, 498 electoral votes to incumbent President Gerald Ford's 39. So definitely a landslide victory for Carter here, just like it was for Clinton. What if he did 10% better in 96 scenario? However, Ford does do a little bit better than Bob Dole, and Clinton did 10% better in 96 scenario, winning a couple more states than I had Dole winning in that last scenario. But still, pretty much a huge landslide victory for Carter, sweeping the South, of course, when the Midwestern states, but Ford still hangs on to some Western, Mountain West states. But that's about it for Ford, and he does actually win New Hampshire and Vermont still, interestingly. Those are the only New England states he wins. Carter, like I said, wins 498 to Carter's 39. I thank you for watching this. It's fun to do another one of these, and I'm looking forward to continue doing these. And like I said, thank you for watching. Share this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Comment any suggestions below if you want me to do any that haven't been done yet by any other YouTubers. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.